Today we will be reading The Plot Against People. And I have to be totally honest that I'm not sure what this topic is going to be about. But what do I think I will learn about this topic is that the plot, just meaning that this story or this short passage will simply be about what Russell Baker has to say, or in comparison, what he has to say about people, um, that it could possibly be his opinion that he's narrating. Um, so we're gonna get started. Um, like I say, the topic is the plot against people. Inanimate objects are classified into three major categories: those that don't work, those that break down, and those that get lost. The goal of all inan, inan, inanimate, inanimate, inanimate objects is to resist man and ultimately to defeat him. And the three major classifications are based on the method each object uses to achieve its purpose. As a general rule, any object capable of breaking down at the moment when it is most needed will do so. The automobile is typical of the category, with the cunning typical of its breed. The automobile never breaks down. While entering a filling station with a large staff of idle mechanics, it waits until it reaches a downtown intersection in the middle of the rush hour, or until it is fully loaded with people and luggage on the Ohio Turnpike. Thus, it creates maximum misery, inconvenience, frustration, and irritability among its human cargo, thereby reducing its owner's lifespan. Washing machines, garbage disposal, lawnmowers, light bulbs, automatic laundry dryers, water pipes, furnaces, electrical fuses, television tubes, hose nozzles, tape recorders, slide projectors, all are in league with the automobile to take their turn at breaking down whenever life threatens to flow smoothly for their human enemy. Everything's more than so proud. Imagine the idea that you are taking, talking to yourself. Stop reading when needed. If you stumble across the road, is there any? Yeah, feel free to read the passage. Okay. Um, many inanimate objects, inanimate is inanimate. Okay. Many inanimate objects, of course, find it extremely difficult to break down. Pliers, for example, and gloves and keys are almost totally incapable of breaking down. Therefore, they have had to evolve a different technique for resisting man. They get lost. Science has still not solved the mystery of how they do it, and no man have ever caught one of them in the act of getting lost. The most plausible theory is that they have developed a secret method of locomotion, which they are able to conceal the intent a human eye falls upon them. It is not uncommon for a pair of pliers to climb all the way from the cellar to the attic in its single-minded determination to raise its owner's blood pressure. Keys have been known to borrow 3 feet to keys have been known to burrow 3 feet under mattresses, women's purses, despite their great weight, frequently travel through 6 or 7 rooms to find hiding spaces under a couch. Scientists have been struck by the fact that things that break down virtually never get lost, while things that get lost hardly ever break down. A furnace, for example, will invariably break down at the depth of the most winter cold wave, but it will never get lost. A woman's purse, which after all does have some inherent capacity for breaking down, hardly ever does. It almost invariably chooses to get lost. Some persons believe this 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 constitutes evidence that inanimate objects are not entirely hostile to man, and that a negotiated peace is possible. After all, they point out a furnace could infuriate a man even more thoroughly by getting lost than by breaking down, just as a glove could upset him far more by breaking down than by getting lost. Not everyone agrees, however, that this indicates a conciliatory attitude among inanimate objects. Many say it merely proves that furnaces, gloves, and pliers are incredibly stupid. The third class of objects, those that don't work, it is the most curious of all. These include such objects as barometers, car clocks, cigarette lighters, flashlights, and toy train locomotives. It is inaccurate, of course, to say that they never work. They work once for the first few hours after being brought home and then quit. Thereafter, they never work again. In fact, it is widely assumed that they are built for the purpose of not working. Some people have reached advanced ages without ever seeing some of these objects, barometers, for example, in working order. Science utterly is utterly baffled by the entire category. There are many theories about it. The most interesting holds that the things that don't work have attained the highest state possible for an inanimate object, the state to which things that break down and things that get lost can still only aspire. They have truly defeated man by conditioning him never to expect anything of them. And in return, they have given man the only peace he receives from inanimate society. He does not expect his barometer to work, his electric locomotive to work, his cigarette lighter to light, or his flashlight to illuminate. And when they don't, it does not raise his blood pressure. He cannot attain that peace with furnaces and keys and cars and women's purses as long as he demand that they work for their keep. So we will start with do I understand what I just read? Absolutely, I do understand what I just read. I came across a couple words in the beginning, like inanimate, and in the beginning, I struggled and didn't understand what that may have meant, but by the end of the passage, I feel as though I understand. For the next question, do I have a clear image in my head about this information? Yes, I do. what more can I do to understand this? I can actually go over this passage at least one or two more times after I get a definite definition of inanimate, the word inanimate. And what were the most important points in this reading? I believe the most important points of this reading was at the very end when the author Baker said that science has truly defeated man by conditioning them to never expect anything of these objects, like to keep a peace of mind, pretty much. Um, don't expect for things to work, and keep your expectations low of these objects so you don't run up your blood pressure. Um, and what new information did I learn? I learned in this passage that the plot against people, that title is actually just stating specifically that things like the automobile, it it works against us at the most weirdest times. Like, of course, it's not going to break down when you're going into a gas station because you're going into the gas station. It's going to do it at the most random time, like at I think they said the turnpike or something, but it's going to happen at the weirdest time where you pretty much get super upset because you get super upset about the car breaking down on an interstate because you're not even close to like a gas station. So how does it fit in with what I already know? It pretty much fits in with what I already know because this is real life. Like we go through these things pretty much every day if something's not working or if and then you can relate it to real life events if it's with your kids or with family members or just day-to-day working experiences. If you set your expectations super high um for something to work out a certain way and it doesn't, but in the passage they're relating it to inanimate objects that work against us, like they're going to break down, they're going to break, they're not working at the time that you need it to work. So that's how it fits in with things that I already know, and I can do that in comparison.